This week on Don't Panic, we talk about Android Wear and the future of Google on your wrist. We talk about Sony's new RoboCop VR headset. We talk about the price of Pandora, Google Now on your desktop, the latest from Twitter. We play a little bit of trivia with actual or real wearables, and we have some great picks. It's a jam-packed episode, so stay tuned. Don't Panic is next. This is Don't Panic, episode number 39, recorded March 24th, 2014, on wearing Android, Twitter experiments, and Sony's headset of the future. Yes, hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Don't Panic, the podcast that dares ask the question, where's the beef? I'm Sean Jennings, joined as always by the man with the luxurious mane of hair, Dan Miller, and the man fresh off the beach, Colby Rabidou. Guys, how's it going?
Excellent.
Good. Just out of curiosity, are we actually prepared to answer the question, where's the beef? Are we just asking?
It's rhetorical. It's not meant to be answered. It's a philosophical debate, really. Socrates once said, where'th the beef?
I'm just confused about the beef.
I think, to be honest, the answer is Wendy's. They ran the ad claiming that the other people didn't have the beef, Wendy's had the beef. So really the answer is no. It's sort of like when the TV show Who's the Boss? Angela's the boss. She hires Tony to come work at her house. Angela's the boss. It's not a hard question. But we make it sound good. You know me, I love a good ad slogan. Wonderful. Well, thanks to all of you out there for joining us in Internet Land. We appreciate your listenership and viewership. As always, we do this live every Monday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, on our website, don'tpanic.io. There you get links to the audio, the video, the RSS, the iTunes, our Facebook, all that good stuff. And you should definitely – someone said to me the other day, wow, you guys are on iTunes? That's really impressive. And no, they let anyone on iTunes. But we are there. So if you use iTunes, you can –
You're not supposed to say that, Sean. It's like the App Store. You have to get accepted.
It cost us several $1,000s. We do it for you, the people, because we all know how much you love iTunes. So check us out, subscribe to us there, and wherever finer podcasts are listened to. I suppose with that, then we should jump right into our top story. Okay, very good. The top story this week, Android Wear. It's been on the lips of the technorati for months. What are Google and Apple going to do for their wearables? They've been saying for the last couple months, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Well, good news, it's here, at least for Google. They announced this past week Android Wear. It is a specialized version of Android designed to power smartwatches and other wearable products. Let me get some details on it for you here. Several key features have been announced. Of course, we don't have any code or details. Fitness is a key component. Google says you'll be able to get real-time speed, distance, and time information. It also means that Google Maps will be built in, so you'll be able to get directions on the watch. Also, Google Now will be there. Automatic passive reminders will be sent via the smartwatch through Google Now. And the watch will also connect with Android smartphones, so you'll be able to get all your notifications sent to the phone. There's also the OK Google active listening to perform voice searches. And lastly, they're teasing a multi-screen functionality from the smartwatches that connect to your phone. For example, Google says you can use a voice command to cast a video to your Chromecast, or to get a certain song to play on your phone using the watch. And as time goes on, as Android gets brought into things like cars, tablets, all these other devices, you can see that going around. They're focusing to make sure these watches look good. They have partners including Fossil and other fashion brands, current Android partners like Asus, HTC. We saw pictures of LG's first device, the G Watch, as well as the Moto 360, which is Motorola's first Google Watch. Neither have any details particularly released about them, but it's expected we'll hear more at Google I/O, which happens June 25th and 26th. Wow. So I'm going to put up some pictures here on my screen so you guys get a good idea of what it looks like. But what do you guys think of what you've read so far of Google Wear?
Android Wear.
That's what I meant. Well, you know what
No,
I
it said
yeah,
Android Wear, and that's interesting because hasn't Google kind of like, disowned the Android name? Like they don't call anything Android anymore. Like it's not the Android store; it's the Google Play Store.
That is an interesting point, although I would assume that anyone who agrees to be a partner on this somehow agrees to not put crapware on it. They must have really tightened it up, because I think that's the only reason why they would agree to do that.
Hopefully they've learned their lesson.
Hopefully.
You mean, Sean, you don't want to buy a watch with like NFL Sunday Ticket install? Galaxy S?
I can just imagine Samsung will have their version. It'll be the S Watch, and it'll have you can write on it with it's going to come with a stylus, and you can do 4 windows on it at once. You know,
a stylus.
It'll be the size of your forearm.
It'll be like Assassin's Creed, where you shoot the knife out of your wrist, and but it'll be a stylus. And you just no, so it's interesting. We got some pictures on the screen now of the what the watch is supposed to look like. It's interesting to note that it will come in both square and round varieties. Ooh.
Oh, wait, so this is the Motorola watch?
No, these are renderings of the software.
Oh, so
these are generic.
Android Wear. Yep. Okay.
Just to give you an idea of what the notifications will look like, what it'll look like when it's on your wrist. If I scroll down, so that is the Moto 360 we're looking at. It's going to come in 2 bands, one of that silicone plasticky and one of metal. It's a round watch face.
Thank goodness it has the little knob so that you can adjust the time during daylight savings time.
I'm actually really curious to see what that does. It's got to do something. The question is, do you push it and Google Now activates, or do you twist it and it goes through your notifications?
Or the swiping on the Google Glass.
Yeah, exactly. That could be.
But they could just make this a touchscreen.
It is a touchscreen.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that thing is for.
And here's a picture of the spectacularly boring G Watch from LG. It's a black rectangle. That's the only image they've released of it.
Wow.
Yeah, go figure. But I'm excited. I think this Moto watch actually looks really slick. Obviously, we don't know things. Actually, we don't know anything about it. When it'll be available, the pricing, the internals, any of that. We know it will be an LCD touchscreen, and it'll obviously have a microphone built into it, but outside of that, we really don't know much. I would recommend people go online, go on YouTube. There's a couple demo videos of both Google Wear and of these watches, and man, it looks good. It looks really good. It's kind of like when everyone was saying, oh, smartwatches have kind of sucked, but Apple's going to be the one to do it right. This is how I thought Apple would have done it.
Except without the whole open platform thing.
Right. Exactly.
Now, the question is, will this work on any other platforms, or will this be Android only? Did they say that?
Everything I've read, they haven't said Android only. They've said works with Android. So could it come for iOS at some point in the future? That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, there is the Google search app with Google Now already on iOS, so it's not impossible, but it's no surprise either that they're going with Android first. I just think, if you think about this, as far as we can tell, it doesn't run apps. It doesn't really even run full programs. It pretty much runs Google Now, at least what they've shown. This isn't an open platform as far as they've announced. Again, we will know the details at I/O, but you're not going to be looking up Yelp reviews on this watch, at least as far as I can tell. You would do it through Google Now, which is an interesting strategy, and certainly contrary to what Pebble's doing.
I thought you could make an app for it, or can you only send notifications to it?
As far as I've read, and again, this has not been fully released, but the SDK we talked about on last week's show talks about the fact that they released an SDK, but I'd have to go. Give me a second. You keep talking about other technology things, and I'll go back and look. But I want to say it's not designed to.
Yeah, they don't have any like examples of that on here. It's all Google Now stuff. So I bet you're probably right. I bet you can only craft notifications to Google Now, but that in itself is interesting because that's not something you could do before. Only Google could craft notifications to Google Now. Like, if you made, I don't know, something that notices where you are, and like if Foursquare wanted to send you a Google Now notification to say, hey, your friend went to this restaurant and has checked in here 5 times. Do you want to check it out? Foursquare could never do that. But now they could, but only if it gets sent to your watch? Or will this work for all Google Now things?
Which part?
Will it work for?
Is it only notifications that get sent to your wearable, or does that SDK allow you to essentially create new Google Now events?
In all honesty, Google has not been the most forthcoming.
Okay, so we don't know.
No, I'm honestly trying to find out. But
yeah, that's what I want, though. It seems weird that Google, the company that would make an operating system for your watch, wouldn't let developers send their own Google Now notifications.
Yeah, I mean,
why? When you
Go ahead, Coley.
much latency. Wouldn't it like display the push notifications you get on your phone anyways? Is like, does it not do that?
We don't know.
So you're saying if you get a notification, would it only show up on your watch, or would it also buzz your phone?
Or would it show up on the watch at all? If it's not a Google Now notification, if it's just a regular Android notification.
Yeah.
Right. Like, wouldn't your phone notification I don't know. I would at least. I mean, maybe I'd want some control over it, but I would like want my to be able to get certain notifications on my wrist thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, otherwise, what's the point? Like, Google Now's like cool, but it's not like there's not enough content there to want to wear it on my wrist all the time. Like, it's not that much value.
Yeah, so it has to be more notifications, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't know. I think they're making a clear mistake.
So, as you guys were talking and I wasn't listening, I was going through and rereading all the stories, including 2 weeks ago when we talked about the SDK. And as far as I can tell, Google has not said it will only run Google Now. They have only shown it running Google Now. The SDK they talked about said it would be easier for Android developers to work with wearables. That's all they said. So we don't really know much about it. So Google is doing this thing where they're, and I'm guessing running up through June, they're going to slowly be releasing little tidbits about it here, there, and little new features, little things, new hardware, pricing, things like that. They'll let it leak, and then we'll see at I/O a full announcement with full details. So for now, we honestly don't know that much, other than the fact that Google is really serious about wearables, that Google Now is going to certainly be, at minimum, the center of their wearable strategy, and that they already have several partners with hardware coming out at some point in the coming months.
Cool. Sweet. So they're teasing.
They are. I want it now. Really, is the problem, because it looks, at least from, and you know how that, if you guys remember the very first Google Glass demo, it looked, we were all like, oh my god, I want that now, like that's the coolest thing, and then it got a little less exciting as time goes on. Although to Google's credit, they hit most of that. At least what they teased. I mean, it wasn't one for one, but if this sort of tease they've put out can live up to it, I'm certainly excited.
Yeah, so that's one of my worries about this, is it's very clearly not a thing yet. Like, those pictures of the Motorola watch are very fake.
Yeah, and it's funny, there's a Motorola put up a video of them, like, behind the scenes making the watch. There is no finished watch, and it's like you see guys working at a computer with a 3D rendering of the watch, or like the little laser thing cutting out, etching it, but you never see the watch.
Yeah.
So, no, you're absolutely right, but if there's any company I'm comfortable with saying, here's something that may come, and then following through on it, I think Google's that company, and they've proven that. So I'm optimistic. If Microsoft, on the other hand, puts out a video and says, this is the future of computing, I'll say, well, now I know it's never going to happen, because Microsoft said it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Well, that's exciting. Android Wear, Moto 360, the G Watch, all of which we'll be looking forward to in June, where we will have wall-to-wall coverage here on Don't Panic of the Google I/O conference. But with that, unless you guys have anything else, we will move on to this. Yeah, all right. Trivia challenge. And based on our top story, this week's trivia challenge is on wearables. And it's a true or fake challenge. So,
you're going down, Colby.
Yeah, it's going to be head-to-head. I'm very excited. And the question is, I'm going to give you the name and a extremely short description. And you have to tell me if it's an actual wearable or a fake wearable I made up. Okay?
Ready.
Very simple.
And how are we answering? Is this like a speed round?
No.
I feel like I'm at a disadvantage right now.
I'll leave it up to you guys. No, last time we did true or fake, I had you guys agree and pick one answer between you. You can do that, or you can each pick one, but that'll be it.
Which one will it be, Colby? Are you feeling agreeable or disagreeable?
I'm feeling disagreeable today.
All
right. So you'll pick separately. You can pick the same, but you can also pick different. We'll start with Colby first. And the first one, it's called Wrist, and it is a fashion smartwatch. That's all I'm going to tell you about it. It's called Wrist, and it is a fashion smartwatch.
No.
No, you're saying it's fake.
Yeah, it's a lie. It's a hoax.
All right. Dan?
I'm saying that just like the cake, this one's also a lie.
You guys caught me. Wrist is made up. That's not a real one. All right. How about this next one? It's called I'm Watch, I''M Watch, and it is an Android-powered smartwatch. Dan, you get to go first on this one.
I'll say it's real. Oh.
What is that, Colby? No, it's fine.
Colby said it's real. I'm going to say it's fake.
It is real. It is absolutely real. It has a color touchscreen. It's overpriced and terrible. Came out, actually, I think 2 or 3 years ago. That's totally true. Okay, how about for the next one, really? Smartwatch, and I just wrote, it's a smartwatch. A smartwatch named Smartwatch. Is that true or fake? Dan's shaking his head. He thinks it's...
Oh, I'm shaking my head at you.
At me? I don't know. What do you guys say?
I'm gonna say it's real. Just...
Okay. Colby?
I guess I'm going to say fake.
Colby's going to say fake. You're going to split it, and it is true. It is the name of Sony's smartwatch. It's called the Smartwatch. Because it's Sony.
After the I'm Smartwatch, I knew that someone else must have certainly called it Smartwatch.
It seems
so obvious. And Wrist was just a little... too obvious.
A little too obvious.
Did you get inspired for Wrist after seeing the smartwatch called Smartwatch?
No, actually, I came up with Wrist first because I'm like, what would a fashion company name like their runway ready? It's Wrist. You know, like lowercase W, capital R, Wrist.
Right, right.
All right, how about Go Band? It is a fitness band.
Oh, that's me now, isn't it? Or is it Chloe?
Anyone can jump in.
What was it called again?
Go Band. And it is a fitness band.
A fitness band. I don't know. We've had 2 trues and 1 false, so I'm gonna say.
I would not read into
I'm gonna agree with Dan, even though.
All right. So what's your answer?
That's how it works, right?
We're both
False.
saying fake.
It's a lie.
And it is a lie. I made that one up as well. And you guys are tied, each with 3 correct, because you each missed one. So for your final one, split the tie. Polar Electro. It is a fitness band.
I'm going to say true.
It's real.
You're both going to agree. And you are right. It is true. So 4-4, you guys tie this week. Very good. I see. I got to stop doing these fake ones because I'm not as clever as I think I am. I go, oh, wrist. They'll totally think it's a real thing.
No, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't so bad.
I think. No, wrist wasn't bad. I think the thing is, like, it's much easier to tell the real ones because the names are so ridiculous.
iWatch is without a doubt. It's like an Italian company. It's one of my favorites because it was so crazy.
It's like it's like too dumb to not be real.
Yeah, exactly. And it's I recommend if anyone wants to laugh, go look it up because this was when like Pebble was like first on Kickstarter and they're like, we're gonna do a color screen, touch screen, Android Watch. It was running like gingerbread. Oh my god, it was so bad. But wonderful. Well, you guys did great. You tied this week. We'll have another challenge for you next week. But we got a lot more news to get into. So. All right. Wonderful. Next on the docket is let's stay with Google. This came out today, actually. So we talk about Google Now. It's currently on Android, coming to smartwatches, and the good news is it's finally on your desktop. It was announced today that in the latest version of Android Chrome, Google Now is included on PC and Mac. It is currently not enabled by default, though it is built in. They're going to enable it in a slow rollout over the next couple weeks. So if you do want to give it a shot and you're on the latest full, not beta version of Chrome, you can go into Chrome://flags and enable it yourself. That's a little workaround. It will be turned on for everyone over the coming weeks. Google Now cards will appear in Chrome's notification center, which if you've used Chrome and you're a Gmail user, those have been around for a while. And it will include weather, sports scores, event reminders, all that Google Now goodness. Yeah, so that's exciting. I don't know if I'm going to attempt to share what mine look like. If Google will let me.
I tried to turn mine on, but I have to restart Chrome.
Yeah, you have to restart Chrome. Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to let me share, so we're going to cheat. Whoa. So there you go. That's what they look like. They come up, you see there's a package shipment, there's the weather. I'm surprised I'm not getting the Bruins score because they're currently playing, but that shows up usually. And those should hypothetically sync with your device. And, Bruins lost in a shootout. What a disappointment. Against our arch rivals, the Canadians. Damn them.
Damn
not the country,
the Canadians.
Team. Yeah, so it shows up like this. There's your Google Now notifications. There, I hope I didn't get you guys too motion sick. Yeah, so that is accessible through the Chrome Notification Center, which I don't know how it works on Mac, but if you're on Windows, in the tray where you have all the little icons, I don't even know what that's called. Where you have all there's a little bell, the little Google bell.
The system tray, isn't that what it's called?
System tray. Thank you. Yes. You can tell I'm a big fan of Windows.
Now, what do you call the thing on the top on OS X, though?
The bar?
The bar.
Well, it's a bar. That's what I would call. No, I don't.
I've heard it called the roof.
The roof?
I
like that.
Menu.
The status menu. It doesn't have the same ring as the roof, but that's okay. So if you want to give that a shot, it's Chrome://flags, or it will be turned on by default. in the coming weeks. As Dan laughs hysterically. Yeah, I know. So there you go. That's very exciting. Let's move on to another story. Last week we talked about Google Drive's prices going down and Prime's prices going up. Well, we are not alone. They are not alone. Pandora this week announced a big change to their pricing strategy. Previously, if you were a Pandora One premium subscriber, it was $36 a year, which I would tell anybody was a great deal because those ads get annoying. They are doing away with that entirely. They are now going to change their monthly fees from $3.99 to $4.99, and the annual option will disappear entirely. They claim it's due to rising licensing costs, which they says has increased 53% in the last 5 years. Existing monthly subscribers will be allowed to continue at $3.99, and annual subscribers will be transitioned to the discounted $3.99, but if you're new, you will go to $4.99. Research has shown consumers are willing to spend an average of $48 a year on digital music. However, Pandora still is cheaper than its competitors. Things like Spotify at $10 a month, RDO for $10 a month, and things of those nature. So,
yeah, but you don't get the same flexibility with.
No, they're different services. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, they really are.
Sure.
They're different.
Also, I think the just desktops tier of Spotify is $5 a month, unless they change that.
I believe, it is less.
And RDO is only $5 if you do just web streaming, no mobile, as well.
So, Colby, have I seen you retrying RDO?
Yeah, I sort of decided that So we get RDO accounts through work. So I decided, I was like, well, maybe I should try saving $10 a month and just use this because it's kind of the same. It's really not that good. It's I like their UI, and I like the way that they handle your collection of music. You can have playlists, but you can also add albums and things to your collection without having to make it a playlist, which is one of the annoying things about Spotify. But overall, it just the playing of the music doesn't work as well, which I find very annoying.
Yeah, there's so much different competition and options, thank goodness, today when it comes to listening to music, which wasn't always the case. I know I've been avoiding. I've never had a Spotify account, never had an RDO account. I'm avoiding it. I don't know why. It's very irrational, but I guess because everyone else is doing it. But I've been using Hipster Sean. I've been using Google Play Music on web. Their mobile app on iOS is horrific. A Pandora, and actually I've been using.
Didn't they come out with an app for iOS?
They did. It's awful.
Oh.
It's really half-baked. Not that it crashes, but it's there's so many weird features they just didn't include. It's you can't reorder a playlist. You can shuffle a playlist. You can't choose a new order. You can't. I mean, it's all kinds of weird. It's a pain in the ass. And actually, I've been using Amazon's music cloud service recently, and I've been enjoying that as well. That works well.
Mm-hmm.
So
can you? I thought Amazon, is that the cloud locker thing or music locker or whatever they call it?
Well, I buy my music. I don't have any of my previously owned music uploaded because they get funky about that. But I do buy all my music through Amazon. So whenever I get new songs, they're automatically in the digital software. So.
Gotcha.
That's nice. And I'm really pissed because, I kid you not, Pandora sent me an email saying your subscription is up for renewal, and I didn't do anything about it, and then 2 days later they're like, oh, we're raising the prices. And I said, God damn it. I could have saved for the next year. I blew it. Alrighty. Let's move on. We got a lot of short stories today. if there's one thing Sony is known for, it's announcing ridiculous products that they may never ship and probably no one will buy. They continue that trend with Project Morpheus. That is the virtual reality headset for the PlayStation 4, because that's what people are really clamoring for, I suppose. It was announced this past week. Let me get some stats for you. Currently codenamed Project Morpheus, it will work with the PlayStation 4. It uses a 1080p LCD screen offering a 90-degree field of view. It will integrate with the PlayStation camera for tracking and PlayStation Move for motion control. It connects currently via HDMI and USB, although they hope to make it wireless in the future. It's really funky looking. It's like it's a band on your head, and then the glasses kind of like hang out. They don't actually strap at the glass level. It's kind of like a headband. It's very. It looks cool, but they have announced that it is not expected to come out this year. They don't have any pricing or any availability listed.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that they hope virtual reality is the future, which Nintendo tried to do in the '80s as far back as then. So. I'm very bitter about this for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Are you guys excited for this, or am I just being a spoil sport?
I wish it could be more awesome, but from what I read, there's some question as to whether even the PS4 could drive, because essentially what we have to do in that scenario is you have to drive two displays, and there's some question as to whether the PS4 could drive two 1080p displays. So if it were less than that, it might be a tough sell. What is the new Oculus at? I think that's 1080p in each eye now, right?
Yeah, but isn't that's not LCD anymore? Didn't they go to, is it IPS? I can't remember what they went to, but they switched off of LCD right?
Well, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Like the graphics card is rendering whatever.
Well, yeah, at the 1080p,
1920 by 1080 pixels per 30 times a second. And then times 2.
Is Oculus 1080 though, or is it 720?
I think the new one that they talked about at CES, I believe that's 1080.
Yeah, what was that called? Crystal Cove?
Crystal, yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, yeah. I guess that makes sense. I mean, I guess Oculus is also not like constrained by the PS4, the console they just released hardware.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I can't find how much the resolutions is.
Yeah, yeah.
But
the one we tried certainly wasn't 1080p.
No.
Still cool though.
Yeah, so they recently released or opened up pre-orders for the one they announced at CES, but that anyone could buy. It didn't have to be like a Kickstarter backer, and I am seriously considering it. So the new Oculus Rift is not 1080p, it's 960 by 1080, which is not 1080p, but it does have the number 1080 in it, so there's that.
I see. Okay.
Huh.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah. So
so it's 1920 by 1080 in aggregate, but each eye is 960 by 1080. So when you add them together, it becomes 1920 by 1080.
Oh,
that makes sense. Yeah. Yep.
That does make sense.
So maybe if they were clever about it, maybe the PS4 could do the full resolution like Oculus Rift.
Yeah.
What would be even cooler is if Oculus Rift could make their thing work for PS4, and you could have like a competition of third-party virtual reality peripherals on the consoles.
Well, that's really the problem. Is you don't want to have 3 different types of headsets for each one of your consoles or devices. It would make sense to have only one across all your devices. It's kind of like, remember when the Wii came out, and everyone was excited, and they said, motion is the future of gaming. We're not going to use controllers anymore. Motion's the future. And then Kinect came out, and they said, hands-free is the future. We're not going to use controllers anymore. Well, by God, we still use controllers. And I feel like virtual reality is the same thing. It's going to be cool in a few select places. There's going to be a few people who are really big into it. But it's not like every home is going to have a virtual reality
I
headset.
don't know though, Sean. Even if you just kept a controller, but the display was heads up.
I just don't think people want to wear them.
It's really impressive.
I was playing The Last of Us this weekend, which is like this really rich storyline zombie video game. And while I was playing it, I was like, this is pretty scary. But imagine how scary it would be if I was playing this on Oculus Rift right now. And then that was all I wanted. Like, I could turn all the lights off I wanted, but it was still just this little rectangle. And I now know what it feels like. I've been spoiled.
But isn't that the same promise they made for 3D movies? Really? It's like you're gonna feel like you're in the
difference.
No.
Movies are oftentimes a social activity, whereas video games, unless you're sitting there playing with friends, you're already doing something on your own, or at least in your own physical space. That's the difference for me, at least.
Yeah, Sean. It's also not like, whereas 3D movies like pop out of the screen, it's not that. It's the fact that you move your head and you look around. It's like, it's just mind blowing.
I understand it's a different visual, but my point was the fad nature of it. The promise and the overpromise and underdelivery was more the comparison.
So
Yeah.
That's an interesting. So I forget what I think I was listening to ATP today, and they were talking about this. And one of the things they said is they were like, I don't know if the Oculus people actually said this or they were just probably, or does in fact want Sony's thing to be really good, because if it's terrible and it gets released to the population before Oculus does, people are going to be like, "Oh, virtual reality is shit," and not bother with it when Oculus is done with theirs. So yeah, I think you that's a fair point. The over promise and under.
Just like Colby's ISP overpromised and underdelivered his bandwidth today.
Something to worry about.
Wonderful.
Because Sony could screw it up for everyone. That would be sad.
Okay. I guess my point would be I would put money down that this is a product that is you will never see on a Best Buy shelf. That's my point. That's my point.
The Oculus Rift or the Sony one?
The Sony one. I think the Oculus Rift. If I had to put money on one, I'd put it on the Oculus Rift, just because I think the mainstream console audience is not going to be, at least for the next several years, the audience for this product. That's why I think PlayStation isn't going to be able to do it. Because people aren't going to buy it for their PlayStation 4s. They're going to buy it for their people who are big into games and their big gaming PCs and who really want that immersive experience. It's not going to be the casual gamer on the couch. So that I would just be surprised. But I think it's good. And I always like to see advancement in gamings and to see what's next. So I don't know. It's interesting. And it looks cool. I'll give them that. I mean, they can design a good-looking product.
Very, very Daft Punk.
Yeah, man, it's like the future. It's very RoboCop. I want the Knight Rider style lights that go back and forth. It's very cool. We are going to end today's show with a couple quick stories from Twitter. How many of you guys were big fans of Twitter music? Raise your hand. I know, everybody, right? How many of you even knew it existed?
I installed it. I never used it, though.
No, this goes back to my, and I don't want to get off on a tangent. Nothing bugs me more than companies who go into an area they have no business being in. I saw Subway is selling pizzas now. Did you know this? It's on a flatbread. They're selling pizza. And I looked at that and I go, they have the flatbread and the sauce and the toppings and an oven. I mean, it's not a big leap for them to do that, but why? It's taking away from your core business. I can't imagine they're generating a lot of money. And then who's like, man, I have a hankering for pizza. Let's go to Subway. Like, it just makes no sense to me. And Twitter Music is a shining example of exactly what Twitter should not be doing. Twitter Music was built by the team behind We Are Hunted, which was a music discovery service Twitter acquired in 2002.
2002?
2012, thank you.
Wow, that was an aggressive acquisition.
yeah. But less than a week after the app's launch, Twitter's head of music left the company to join the question and answer network Jelly. And then by October, the company began making plans to shut it down, and now it's officially dead. The app is off the App Store. If you're currently using it, it will work until April 18th. So Twitter Music is no more. So I know. It's sad. Rest in peace.
I just never quite understood it. Like,
it was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was really just
be.
kind of an aggregator of music-related content on Twitter that would then forward you to other sites that could actually play the music. It was really supposed to be a discovery tool based upon celebrities and musicians on Twitter, and then it would forward you to an ancillary service to play, buy, stream the actual music. So, silly. A few other things about Twitter. Twitter is doing this new thing. I read an interesting article a while back where, and maybe you guys can speak more to this because I think it's interesting, but when Twitter wants to test out new features, they sort of let a few select users of their mobile app try it out without really making a big fanfare announcement. They'll pick 100, 1,000 Android Twitter users, and they'll let them test out a new feature, and that's where we get a lot of these tiny leaks from about things Twitter is testing. That includes showing how many people saw your tweets. You can currently do that on Facebook. Get statistics about your reach on your posts. Well, Twitter's experimenting with how many people actually saw your tweet. They're experimenting with a favorite people's list, which sounds like lists they already have, but I guess it's going to be more predominant where you pick a select group of your favorite individuals, so you don't have to scroll through all the crap on your Twitter. You'll just get them from the things that matter most to you. Those are two among many features Twitter has been reportedly testing through their apps.
That's cool. I want that. A lot of other services do that, though.
Yeah, it's a fascinating concept to just sort of put it out there and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, what do you expect to happen?
Well, you could. I saw that for example, Twitter showing how many people saw your tweets got kind of mixed reaction. There were some people who said, well, it's great for businesses, but then individual users said it's going to fundamentally change how people use the service, and people focusing more on delivering numbers than on content.
Wouldn't the opposite happen if, at least if I noticed that I was like tweeting a bunch but only 2 people were looking at them? Also, what is it? Does that just mean it showed up in the feed, or does that mean they like engaged with it in some way?
It doesn't say. Again, we just know it exists.
Even still, if I tweet things and no one looks at them, I would maybe be inspired to tweet less, but tweet more meaningful, interesting things. And I'm not sure why that benefits Twitter, but
well, it benefits it on the corporate side is really what it does. I mean, it's really, as someone who manages social media accounts, Facebook is great because you get all kinds of really good data about what your content's doing, but on Twitter it's a total crapshoot. I mean, other than retweets and favorites, and even those aren't a really good indicator. So at least for
so you don't get any indication on Twitter other than retweets and favorites?
Yeah, there's no viewed or seen or any of that. So at least for the business side, that would be a big addition, and especially for a company that's focusing on profits and business and ad sales and those kind of things, it would make sense.
Yep.
Very cool.
Enough.
Well, unless you guys have any other thoughts on that,
Nice.
we will move on to picks. Picks. Okay. I'm going to jump in and go first because I can. Well, Dan leaves. Wow. Very sweet. Very kind man. That's okay. I'm going to just roll with it. Just roll with the punches. I actually have 2 picks this week, but they're smaller picks. I promise I'm not going to bore you with too long picks. They're quick. The first, I've talked previously on the show about the importance of 2-factor authentication. The fact that you need to keep your account secure, and simply having a password these days isn't good enough. But at least as far as I've noticed, there hasn't been a good way to highlight what sites have 2-factor authentication available. I found this site. It's a great resource. It's 2factorauth, AUTH.org. It's just a GitHub site someone put together. Look at me, I sound so technical. And essentially what it does is it's a list of popular websites, and if they offer 2-factor authentication and through which services, whether it's SMS, Google Authenticator, a custom solution, it'll tell you what sites are currently working on it and which sites don't have it. And I was actually surprised because there are several sites when I looked here that I use that I didn't even realize had 2-factor authentication, and I said, geez, I should go turn that on. So it's a simple, quick site, but it's a really great resource. You should go on, see what services you use, and if you don't have it, turn it on.
Scroll on down to the e-commerce section there and check out which company actually has 2-factor authentication.
I gotta find it. I scrolled by it. There's so many. Retail. Oh, look, Apple has it. That's really neat.
Uh-huh.
So
Not
does eBay.
Amazon.
What about
Not Newegg.
damn banks?
Yep. No,
But
Etsy
Etsy
of
does.
course. Yes. As does Facebook. To be
Before,
fair.
we
Yeah.
used to be the only company in the e-commerce section or shopping section that had SMS, but then they added Apple. And then we no longer had that distinction.
Yeah. Sorry, sorry, Dan. The web's getting more secure. I know it's a real bummer for you. So yeah, I think it's really neat. It's one of those things I'm going to bookmark and check back once in a while, because especially because I use the Google Authenticator app, which not everything supports, and they, as companies add that support, I'll certainly add it. Things like I find Twitter's really irritating because they either SMS you or you have to use the Twitter app. It's kind of like, okay, it's better than nothing, but it's kind of I like having them all in one app, but. Yeah, so that's 2factorauth, AUTH.org. Check it out, and please turn on 2-factor authentication. Please, you'll be it saved me from having the Turkish army hacking my Twitter account. True story. I don't know if it was somebody from Turkey, and I got a text asking me to verify my account in Turkish, and I said, God, I should change my passwords. So it does save you. My other pick, another quickie. This was just hilarious to me. Some guy spent a year and a half. If you guys are fans of The Office, the television series, he went through every episode of The Office and marked every single pop culture reference. Then he created The Office Time Machine. So the way it works is you put in a year, and you hit go, and what happens is he's created a series of videos that show each pop culture reference from that given year in the show. So, for example, 1983, Islands in the Stream, Karma Chameleon, Mr. T. I mean, every time something is mentioned on the show, you can look up all the references of that year throughout the entire run of the show. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's not the most useful thing, but God, it's a fun way to spend like half an hour. And you put in, he does a funny thing if you put in a future year that doesn't exist, or you can even go to like the year 0 when they talk about Jesus and things like that. I mean, it's really, this guy clearly spent way too much time doing this. And if you're a fan of The Office, or just pop culture in general, it's kind of a fun way to spend spend some time. It's theofficetimemachine.com. And check it out before NBC decides to be a jerk and pull it down, which I hope doesn't happen, but you know how these things work. Yeah, so those are my pick this week, twofactorauth.org and theofficetimemachine.com. Have some fun, kids. Okay, who wants to go next?
Colby should
I
go
can
next.
try.
Okay, Colby.
Yeah, so I finally caved and under the pressure of Dan's raving about having a mechanical keyboard. So I bought a mechanical keyboard, and I got the Code keyboard, which is Jeff Atwood he writes a blog called Coding Horror, and he designed his perfect keyboard. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Set. Oh, okay.
Your
cool.
internet's
You're
actually
just
working, so
You're very quiet and attentive. It's unlike you.
this is fascinating.
Oh, yeah. So I got it, and I got it last week on Wednesday, I guess, and I've been using it at work ever since, and it's really cool. It's a very different experience. It feels very satisfying, though I have been finding my fingers get tired, which is not something I've experienced before, and I think it's because I press the keys too hard. Like, you don't have to press the keys down all the way to make it go. There's a certain point where it clicks and then it goes. So it's not all the way. So and you can feel when it clicks. It's just I haven't gotten used to feeling it and moving on instead of jamming it all the way down. So I got to work on that. It's interesting. But one of the things I like about this keyboard is that it has a bunch of on the hardware, these configuration switches that you can switch. So, for example, if you're on a Mac, there's one to flip the OS and Alt keys. But there's also one to hardware wire the caps lock key to Control, which is something I do at the OS level anyways. So that's awesome because I never have to go in and change that in Mac OS again because I can just change it. There's a bunch of cool things like that. It also has a backlight, which is neat. I haven't used it yet because I use it at work, and I'm at work during the day in bright ass lights. And it also came with this key pulling tool that makes it really easy to take the keys off, which was fun because I had to do that to switch around my OS and Alt keys. And what else? Oh, the other thing that I would not have thought of, but everyone says is really awesome, especially if you're investing over $100 in a keyboard. The cable is on one end it's regular USB, but on the other end it actually unplugs from the keyboard, and it's just a mini micro USB port. So if something happens to your cable, you don't have to take it to a store to get a new one or something. You just get a different micro USB cable and plug it in. So that's pretty clever. It's also incredibly solid. It weighs 2 pounds. It's heavy. You could hurt somebody. But consequently, it never moves on your desk ever, unless you pick it up and move it. But
it is
so far I'm
one-time use keyboard.
effectively it's super cool. No, but yeah, I like I said, I've only been using it for a few days. I'm still getting used to it, but I'll report back. So my feedback is positive so far.
It's and I will say I was looking on the website at the prices of these keyboards. If you wanted to go out and get one, and I said, wow, $170 is a lot of money. And then I thought about it, and I said, Well, it's kind of like a carpenter buying a nice hammer or a truck driver buying a nice truck. Like, you guys use it all the time, like all day, every day. So that seems like a good investment.
Yeah.
It does. It's a really weird feeling because, like, I wouldn't have thought it would make that much of a difference, but it's like when you get going typing and you know what you're typing, it just feels so good. You can just like bang shit out. It's very satisfying in a hard to describe way.
Yeah.
And it may be something only people who have like typing intensive jobs may understand, but I don't know. Like, yeah, it's cool.
Very neat. Code Keyboard. CodeKeyboards.com.
Am I up next?
You are, Dan, bringing us the latest in the written word.
Yeah. So, did I recommend Name of the Wind some time ago?
We talked about it, yeah.
Maybe. So, there's this guy named Patrick Rothfuss, and he wrote 2 really good books, and the third one isn't out yet. Luckily, in his blog, which highly recommended, that's my other pick, blog.patrickrothfuss.com. It's hilarious. He like describes interactions with his child and things. Patrick Rothfuss can tell any story and make you like 100% engrossed in it. But through him, I found out about his professional friend Brandon Sanderson, who was, I guess, best known for finishing Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series, which I have not read. But he did write this book called The Way of Kings, which is his like magnum opus trilogy. Yeah.
Holy book.
Yeah, if you want to be reading a book for a couple weeks solidly, this is the book. It starts off a little bit slow, but if you're into like the epic fantasy of Tolkien and Patrick Rothfuss, then that highly recommended. Lots of crazy things happen. It's really well told. It's a story that's well crafted. He has also written a bunch of other books. The Mistborn trilogy is what most people recommend you read when you start reading his stuff. It's a little young adult, so I don't know. I liked it. I've been trying to I've been trying to read everything he's ever written. So that's been my goal for the next couple months. Unlike Patrick Rothfuss and George Martin, he publishes like 2 books a year, so he might even get ahead of me. But read the Mistborn trilogy, read Alloy of Law, which is this new trilogy he started, which is kind of like Firefly meets magic. So it's like cowboys who can do magic and like solve crimes. It was so much fun. Yeah, it was awesome. It was
That's
just
the best
like what
pitch
you
I've ever
expect.
heard.
Yeah, it was great. Now I'm reading Elantris, which is about this like city that had all godlike people in it, but now they're all zombies. How did that happen? So, on one hand, fantasy is like, it's not the most hard-hitting of literature. I even had someone try to tell me that it isn't literature at all, but any author can tell any story, and if they're a good author, make you really care about it. Like Terry Pratchett and his gnomes that are stuck in the warehouse are a perfect example of that. And Brandon Sanderson could tell any story, and I would want to read it. Hopefully he starts a blog where he talks about the drawings that his kid is making, because I would read that too. So The Way of Kings, Brandon Sanderson is my pick for this week.
Nice. Yeah, it's good. We get people reading. Which is good. People should do that more. So.
Yeah.
And that one will take you a while. So.
Yeah, and then there's a sequel to this that just came out called Words of Radiance.
Do they deliver that on a flatbed?
Just as thick. No, deliver it on the Kindle, and then my Kindle doesn't weigh anymore after it receives it. Thank goodness.
I was about to say, yeah, that's a perfect book for Kindle. Jeez.
Yeah. Yep.
That's
You can
great.
take both of those with you on a trip and only have to take your Kindle, which is the miracle of modern technology. 10-year-old Dan is so envious.
Don't panic. We have a solution. Very good. Well, those were some great picks. What a wonderful show we have done here, people. I want to thank everyone for watching and listening. We appreciate it greatly. If you have feedback on the show, you should definitely let us know. We're always looking to make the show better. And, of course, your help is invaluable. So don'tpanicshow@gmail.com is our email. You can also hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/don'tpanicshow. And, of course, our website, don'tpanic.io, has all the latest. Definitely subscribe on iTunes and via RSS. We will be back next Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, with even more tech news. Of course, a big thanks to Colby Rabidou, Dan Miller. And I'll thank myself because I was here. I took the time to show up.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks
for being here.
I mean, I wasn't asking for it, but I appreciate the fact that you did it. Very good. Well, why don't we'll wrap up the show. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.